Okay, we're live everywhere. Okay, good morning. Good morning. This is Jenni Rochelle, and welcome to the weekly episode, this week's episode of Surviving His Sex Addiction and Betrayal Trauma. In case you don't know who I am, I'm Jenni Rochelle, and I'm a life coach for women who have discovered that their husband or partner is a sex addict or has betrayed them and they are experiencing betrayal trauma. And the last couple of weeks, we've been talking about. First, we were talking about sort of what is sex addiction in general. I've been getting a lot of questions about that, so I've been trying to cover that in the last few shows. And then we sort of talked about the sort of intersection between betrayal trauma and infidelity and sex addiction, and like how all those things interplay together. So today, what I want to talk about is sort of what it takes, sort of like what it takes to survive sex addiction and betrayal, to survive discovering that your husband, your beloved, has betrayed you. And so first, I just also want to say hi and just check in and just take a moment to take a breath. I'm actually broadcasting from Union City, New Jersey. I've been in Manhattan this weekend with some family, so our big family annual tradition adventure. So if you're there and you're watching, please say hi and check in and let me know where you are. I'd love to hear from you. And yeah, okay, let's get started. So, we've talked a lot about how when you discover that your husband is a sex addict or that you've been betrayed, you are experiencing trauma. And so, because of that, you really need to take this sort of trauma informed, integrative approach to surviving, to healing, to your own recovery process. And that's because you have experienced like up to 5 different kinds of trauma. We've talked a little bit about that: betrayal trauma, relational trauma, sexual trauma, something called treatment induced trauma, in case you have been further traumatized by an inappropriate or unhelpful reaction from a therapist or a treatment center or even someone in your church. It's very common. People just don't know about sex addiction, and so they can often say things that are more harmful than good. So because of that, though, you really need, like I said, this trauma-informed, integrative approach, and that's what I bring to my coaching practice. And there are 6 sort of vital components that are involved in that, to cover sort of like all of the bases that you need to treat. And so it starts with safety, which is where we talk about where we talk about boundaries. Boundaries are the fastest way to create safety, because you probably feel very unsafe right now. And they also let you probably give you the fastest tool to figure out whether or not you're going to be able to save your marriage, depending on how he responds to your request for a boundary and his ability to keep them. The second component is self-regulation. You are probably experiencing a lot of trauma symptoms right now: rapid heart rate, panic attacks, anxiety, can't eat, can't sleep. Maybe you're having some trauma brain. Your brain is super fuzzy all the time. And so you need to be able to learn to regulate your own nervous system through grounding practices, breathing, meditation, walks. There's lots of ways to do it. The third thing that you need is support. You need you're going to need therapists and coaches. When I went through my process, I literally had 2 therapists and 2 coaches and a whole host of yoga teachers and girlfriends that helped take care of me. But you also make sure you need to get the right kind of support. You need someone who's been trained to deal with partners of sex addicts. Next, what you need is sisterhood. So in addition to support from like individual therapy, you also need a community. You need a tribe of women who are going through what you're going through, so that you can get that. There's nothing like being accepted. There's nothing like another woman who can look you in the eyes and say, me too, I know exactly how you're feeling. And to actually know that they know how you're feeling is so important to your recovery. The next thing after that is you need a strategy, right? You need an overall strategy for how you're going to move forward. Every case is different. Every situation is different, but there are certainly fundamental steps that are really critical for you as you try to move forward and you try to determine whether or not you're going to be able to save your marriage. Like you need to talk to someone about a therapeutic disclosure. Polygraphs are very, very common because sex addiction is such a progressive and debilitating disease and causes so much shame for the addict. It's nearly impossible for them to tell the truth without some sort of external pressure making sure that they do so. And the last thing that you need to focus on is your spirituality. And it doesn't have to be Christian. I don't necessarily think of myself as a Christian. I believe in God. I was raised that way. I use the word God. But you just need some sort of bigger container to believe in that you know are being held by and that can hold a better and hopeful, more joyful future for you in these moments like right now when you probably can't do that. So those are sort of the big high level overlay. I'm talking really fast about all the things that make up this approach that I've developed. If you want to know more about it, please go to xoxoguidebook.com and you can download my free, it's 30 pages of free guidebooks, 30 pages full color. I made sure it was very pretty because I love pretty things. Download it, take a look at it. And there's information in there how to move forward from there if you have more questions or you want to get in touch with me. Okay, I'm talking really fast. I hope you guys have a great Sunday. Please, if you have questions, I'll pause there. Anybody have questions right now? Okay, no problem. If you're watching this on repeat, please comment with questions. I'd love to hear from you, but for sure, most important takeaway, go get your free guidebook, sexaddictionguidebook.com. Thanks. Love you, Jenni.